यार ये स्टॉप शेयरिंग करना पड़ेगा फिर।
नहीं सर, आप जो नीचे देखिए सर, क्रोम होगा, एक क्रोम होगा जिसपे आपने गूगल मीट ओपन किया होगा, और एक साथ में आपका फोल्डर भी होगा जो आपने प्रेजेंटेशन है उस पर।
नहीं, पावर प्रेजेंटेशन आगे नहीं बढ़ रहा हमारा
सर नीचे जो स्क्रीन के नीचे सर, जहां पर बेस पर, जहां पर गूगल क्रोम और प्रेजेंटेशन दोनों ओपन होंगे, उसमें प्रेजेंटेशन पे क्लिक कर दीजिए आप, बिल्कुल नीचे।
कर दिया हमने।
तो अब आपके लैपटॉप पे केवल प्रेजेंटेशन आ रहा होगा सर।
हाँ,
अब
प्रेजेंटेशन आ
बढ़
रहा
रहा
है
है,
केवल।
अब बस इससे बढ़ाना है आपको, इससे बढ़ाना है आपको।
भले हम
अब बढ़
गूगल
रहा है।
बंद रखें अपना।
नहीं सर, गूगल बंद मत रखिए आप, गूगल आपका चलता रहेगा, वो आपका फोटो आता रहेगा साइड में। प्रेजेंटेशन बढ़ाने के लिए आपको प्रेजेंटेशन पे, जैसे आप ऐसे आप बोलते रहिए, फिर जब प्रेजेंटेशन दूसरी स्लाइड करनी हो तो नीचे क्लिक करके उससे बढ़ा लीजिए स्लाइड आप अपनी।
यानी मैं इसे ले जाऊं गूगल पे। एक
अब
मिनट।
अब क्रोम पे क्लिक कर दीजिए तो आपका फोटो आने लगेगा सर, गूगल मीट ओपन हो जाएगी।
गूगल मीट ओपन होगी, जब मुझे स्लाइड चलाना है तो मैं चला जाऊं प्रेजेंटेशन पे।
जी, उससे बढ़ा के फिर यहीं पे वापस आ जाइए सर।
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा।
सर तो now this lecture is being recorded. I am very much thankful to our teacher who taught me during my MSc days and is still guiding me in my life, Dr. Somesh Yadav sahab, who has retired from the principalship of the oldest college of Western UP, Bareilly College, Bareilly. Now it's over to you, Dr. Shalini. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Pranam, sir.
प्रणाम प्रणाम शालिनी।
A very good morning to all of you present over here. Today is fifth and last session of this series. We have learned a lot from our eminent speakers, and today is great day for all of us, especially for me, because today's speaker is Professor Somesh Yadav, former principal, Bareilly College, Bareilly, and fortunately, I am his student. Many of others are also present. I have learned a lot from him. He is a great personality, and it's an honor more than a pleasure to welcome you, sir. On behalf of Botanical Association, Department of Botany, Bareilly College, Bareilly, in collaboration with Department of Botany, SS College, Shajapur, and SRBS, I extend a deep sense of gratitude for you, sir. In fact, words are not enough to express my gratitude. It's a pleasure for a student to welcome his or her own teacher for his blessings. I extend a warm welcome all other dignitaries. Dr. Alok Khare sir, Director of the series, Head Department of Botany, Bareilly College, Bareilly, all my faculty members, colleagues, my friends, my seniors, and last but not the least, all the participants, dear students. I extend a warm welcome to all of you. Now I would like to invite my colleague and coordinator of this series, Dr. Rajiv Yadav, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, Bareilly College, Bareilly, to introduce our eminent speaker, Professor Somesh Yadav. Over to you, Dr. Rajiv.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for your so kind words. Ma'am, I'm audible. Hello. Hello.
हाँ, आपकी आवाज आ रही है? आपकी आवाज हाँ आ रही है, क्लियर है?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Before introduce my mentor, Dr. Somesh Yadav, sir, I, as a teeny part of Department of Botany, Bareilly College, give my sincere thanks to my respected Principal, Bareilly College, Bareilly, Dr. Anurag Mohan, sir, Dr. Alok Khare, sir, Head of the Department of Botany, Bareilly College, Bareilly, Dr. Sarni Saxena, Madam, Dr. S.K. Bhatnagar, sir, Dr. Adas Pandey, sir, SS College, Shahjahanpur, Dr. Asa Singh, Madam, and my friends and departmental colleague, Dr. Neeraj Malik ji and Dr. Narinder Pal Singh ji, to organize such a nice and very informative event, lecture series. It is a very positive sign to our Department of Botany in academic growth that well-known experts from their fields are with us in this series. So I also express my thanks to Dr. Aswani Goyal sir, ex-higher education officer Bareilly, Dr. Lalit Tiwari sir, senior professor Kumar University, and Dr. Anu Datta madam for their shower of knowledge on us and our students. Now, it is a very immense pleasure to me to introduce my mentor, my guardian, my teacher, Dr. Somesh Yadav sir. Dr. Somesh Yadav sir is not a name, he is a personality of experiences. I repeat, Dr. Somesh Yadav sir, not a name, he is a personality of experiences. I remember a statement from former senior editor of Amar Ujala, late Sri Dhiren Dagwal sir, to Dr. R.P. Singh, former principal Bareilly College Bareilly, in a conversation that even if Dr. Somesh Yadav will stand in the wheat field, he will remain the same. Actually, he is not a name, he is a personality. So, introducing Dr. Somesh sir is like showing a lamp to the sun. In spite of that, I would like to share some important facts about Dr. Somesh Yadav sir. As Dr. Salni Saxena madam instructed me, Dr. Somesh Yadav sir did his MSc degree from RBS College, Agra University, Agra in 1974 and holds second top position in Agra University, Agra. Dr. Somesh sir joined Bareilly College, Bareilly as lecturer in 1974 and served college for 44 years, a vast experience as associate professor, including me and Dr. Salni Saxena madam. 16 students awarded PhD degree under the supervision of Dr. Somesh Yadav sir and got placement in university and colleges like Dr. Madhumita Balla, Chandigarh University, Chandigarh, Dr. Hitendra Kumar Singh, Raja College Rampur, Dr. Himshikha Madam, Rani Avanti Bai College Bareilly, Dr. Amit Vass sir, he is also in this lecture series, Hindu College Muradabad, Dr. Salni Saxena and Dr. Rajiv Yadav in Bareilly College Bareilly and so on. Sir published more than 35 papers in various reputed journals. Sir hold almost administrative post of college and get retired as principal of Bareilly College, Bareilly. Sir acted as Dean Faculty of College of Science of MJP Ruhelkhand University and convener of RDC and Board of Studies of MJP Ruhelkhand University. Dr. Somesh sir acted as member of Uttar Pradesh Public Service Commission, Prayagraj, from 2004 to 2010. As expert in the panel of NAC, sir assesses 3 colleges. Now, apart from being an eminent botanist, Dr. Somesh sir also a good thinker, a good philosopher, and a poet. Again, I pay regard to my teacher, Dr. Somesh Yadav sir, and thanks to Dr. Salni Saxena madam to give me this opportunity. Thank you very much. Over to
Good
you,
morning
Dr.
to all.
Salni.
I'm audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good morning to all. And I would like to pay a word of thanks to the organizers, particularly the Department of Botany, Bareilly College, Bareilly, Department of Botany, SS College, Shahjahanpur, and specifically Adarsh Pandey and Shalini Saxena, who have taken a very tedious job to convene this lecture series in this pandemic era. I am really thankful of those persons who have listed my name as a speaker in this series. My dear friends, my fellow speakers, and my dear students, with the beginning of human civilization, man has tried to study the alphabets as well as the words of the diversity. And not only the words and alphabets, probably the man has tried to know the comma and full stop of the diversity also. The diversity is very huge and very immense. But even then, man has tried their best to know the each and every point of this diversity. And one thing very important is that men not only studied the things, but they have tried their best to rewrite the diversity in their own needs, and which is not very healthy for human beings as well for diversity. The nature is immensely diverse, very wide, and not very easy to sum up. The nature has thousands of different habitats, millions of different species, billions of different individuals, and trillions of different characteristics. We need really the towering forest, which can fix carbon dioxide and give us oxygen, food, medicines, timber, and other produce free of cost to fulfill our needs. The biodiversity is really fulfill 40% world economy and 80% needs of the poor. I have just prepared one PPT to demonstrate what is the use of diversity, why we are studying diversity, and why we are more feeling concerned nowadays with the diversity, and how can we conserve our diversity. My PPT is here, and my PPT is prepared for the purpose of students of PG and U level Delhi. This is the first slide where I have shown the word diversity with different colors. Just look on this slide and feel it, that diversity looks very bright and very colorful and beautiful, immensely beautiful than compared to variety. Therefore, diversity, when it is colorful, it is different, it increases the beauty also. Second important thing, why we really concerned with diversity. Biodiversity is the umbrella which covers all life forms on the earth. I have said here the all life forms on the earth. It includes plants, animals, and microorganisms. It is a big thing to sum up. Biodiversity is really beyond imagination. Biodiversity supports at least 40% of world economy and 80% needs of the poor. At the same time, biodiversity provides us all our needs free of cost and make the nature immensely beautiful. But now the biodiversity is under attack. Therefore, we are feeling more and more concerned with biodiversity. On one hand, we are feeling privileged that we are having biodiversity, but on the other hand, we feel that biodiversity should not be under attack.
Sir, I am sorry, sir. Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Your slides are not visible, sir. एक बार फिर से share कर दीजिए, sir. उसी present now पे जाकर के या तो resume presentation आ रहा होगा या फिर से sir कर दीजिए एक बार slides.
Stop sharing करना पड़ेगा फिर तो मुझे दोबारा से.
Stop sharing करके दोबारा कर दीजिए सर, कोई बात नहीं. आप ऊपर देखिए सर, राइट कॉर्नर पे तो नहीं दिखाई दे रही स्लाइड आपकी?
नहीं. ये स्लाइड आई नहीं जिसका मतलब आदर्श?
हाँ सर, पहली स्लाइड दिखाई नहीं दे रही थी तभी मैंने किया. तो सर किसी और ने जो बीच में किया था सर अपना स्लाइड शेयर, उससे सर जो स्पीकर्स होते हैं उनके स्लाइड में इंटरप्शन हो जाता है सर, तो वो उनको अब रिमूव कर दिया है.
एक मिनट देखो जरा, मैं देखता हूँ दोबारा से.
जी सर, जी सर.
अब आया देखो.
सर अभी
नहीं सर अभी नहीं. हाँ सर अब हो रहा है.
हाँ.
अब आया.
हाँ सर अब आ गया सर.
आ गया है सर. फर्स्ट स्लाइड से शुरू कर दीजिए सर.
अब सही है सर, दिखाई.
अभी मूव नहीं कर रहा आदर्श.
सर मूव करने के लिए फिर आपको वहीं पे जाना पड़ेगा सर, स्लाइड वाले प्रेजेंटेशन पे. नीचे जो दो ऑप्शन दिख रहे होंगे सर, उसमें स्लाइड वाले पे चले जाइए आप.
एक मिनट.
जी सर.
सर इसको मिनिमाइज कर दीजिए गूगल मीट को और केवल प्रेजेंटेशन को सर मैक्सिमाइज.
हाँ ऐसा भी कर सकते हैं सर आप इसको.
अब स्लाइड आया?
हाँ सर स्लाइड दिख रही है सर.
स्लाइड विजिबल है सर,
लेकिन आप बढ़ा के देख लीजिए सर आगे बढ़ रहा है कि नहीं.
सर
आगे नहीं
पावर
बढ़ रहा।
पॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन को
सर जो नीचे आपने जहां पर पीपीटी ओपन किया होगा ना सर, आप जरा इसको हाँ अब बढ़ रहा है सर, अब बढ़ रहा है सर, हाँ अब बढ़
This
रहा
is
है
the
सर,
first slide.
हाँ ओके
This
सर,
is the
थैंक यू।
first slide. The term biodiversity is the bio umbrella which covers all life forms on the earth. And all life forms really includes all life forms from microorganisms, plants, and animals. It is a big thing to sum up. Biodiversity is really beyond imagination. Biodiversity supports at least 40% of world economy and 40% of needs of the poor and 80% of needs of the poor. Biodiversity provides us all needs free of cost and make the nature extremely beautiful. But now the biodiversity is under attack. Actually, we are more concerned with the biodiversity because it is under attack now. This is the primary slide which I want to show. Just see on this slide, there is one is A diagram and one is the B diagram. There is a one diagram A, which is protecting nothing probably, just a slide which is having no color, no water, no air, and no plants and no animals. It's just very roughly zero. And on the B slide, there is some species are there. They might be plants or some maybe animals. In this way, if you want to compare the things, then B looks better than the A. And similarly, in this slide, the B looks again better than A because there is addition of some more species are there. Then there's again slide, then again the B is looking better than A. I simply want to show that how many diversification will be there, more and more beautiful things will be made. And in this last slide, I want to show that the B part is having some wrinkled soil, meaning by air is there, water is there, and plants and animals are also there. It means complete biodiversity has been shown in this slide, in the B slide. It means whenever the biodiversity, it will look more better and more pristine, beautiful. Just look on this slide and imagine that what really happened if the total earth has been covered by one type of Homo sapiens. Of every man will be of one height, having one dress sense, one type of hair like, one type of eyes, one type of height, and one type of tallness. And on the other hand, if there is a change in the habitat, it means there's a different or divergent in their nature also. Some are short structured, some are long structured, some are having beard, some are having clean shape. Their hairstyles are very much different. And this B slide shows how diverse one only species can be if there is biodiversity exists. There is another slide which is showing one is the forest ecosystem and one is a crop ecosystem. Every time crop ecosystem looks good, but forest ecosystem is more fruitful and more better. It is also seen this one and the same thing. There is a forest ecosystems, one is the monotonous ecosystem. This is the diagram of a bird, house sparrow. हमको याद है हम छोटे हुआ करते थे जब, तो हाउस स्पैरो हमारे घर पे बहुत आती थी और हम लोग गर्मियों में उसको पकड़ के जो है किसी इंक से इनको कलर कर दिया करते थे और फिर विजिट किया करते थे, फिर वेट किया करते थे आगे दिनों में कि कब हमारे विजिट करती है. बट नाउ डेज हाउस स्पैरो बिकम वेरी इंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज. देयर विजिट्स आर वेरी लेस इन आवर हाउस एंड वी आर स्टिल ट्राइंग टू प्रोटेक्ट दिस हाउस स्पैरो. Similarly, this is butterfly. The density of butterfly is also very less nowadays. Once upon a time, butterfly was very commonly available in the environment. So we are losing our biodiversity in case of house sparrow and butterfly. Similarly, earthworms are very less available nowadays in the earth due to the use of pesticides and biofertilizers. and chemical fertilizers. These earthworms are also called as a friend of the farmers. And therefore, nowadays we are losing our biodiversity day by day. This is a very important diagram, which I just collected yesterday, that the density of plants per person is reducing from very high concentration. The condition of India is very poor. We are having only 28 plants or 28 trees per person. Why we are more worried about biodiversity? Just try to understand each and every point of these recent issues. Some 75% of genetic diversity of crop plants have been lost in the past century. Just imagine 75% of genetic diversity have been lost. Some scientists estimate that as many as 3 species per hour are getting extinct, and about 20,000 extinction occur each year. About 24% of mammals and 12% of bird species are currently considered to be globally threatened. More than 50% of world wetland have been drained and their population have been declined by 50%. And human activities in the last 50 years reduced biodiversity a lot. Wild animals have reduced up to 60% on the planet. Lions have reduced up to 65% in Africa. And flying insects have reduced up to 75% in Europe. And bluefin tuna has been reduced up to 95% in Pacific Ocean. With the current rate of extinction, research says that humanity is losing the important drug every 2 years. It is catastrophic for the nature. Food-related biodiversity can be defined as, in real sense, it should be called as life support system. The term was firstly coined by Walter G. Rosen. Here is a big confusion between the books. The term biodiversity has been given by Walter D. Rosen in 1986, whereas the complete term biological diversity was firstly used by Thomas Lovejoy in 1980. It represents the sum of various life forms such as unicellular fungi, protozoans, bacteria, multicellular organisms as plants, fish and mammals at various biological levels, including genes, habitat, and ecosystem. This is the second important thing, that the biodiversity does not only include the study of different forms of life, but their interdependence also. Life forms also maintains a sustainable interrelationship. Basically, the interdependence of organisms, whether they are plants or animals, is very important in biodiversity. If their interdependence is sustainable, they will live long and biodiversity will be conserved. But if the interrelationship is non-sustainable, the biodiversity will be hampered. So it is necessary that the biodiversity should be conserved anyhow. Biodiversity is the variety of life on Earth and essential interdependence on living things. The most important thing is the scientists have identified more than 1.5 million of species. Tens of millions have yet to be identified. The biodiversity has been classified in 3 categories. One is called as ecosystem biodiversity, meaning by forest ecosystem, pond ecosystem, marine ecosystem. When ecosystem will be different, naturally their structure will also be different. Number second, the species diversity, species biodiversity, when the ecosystem is the one type, but is containing different type of species. And third one is called the genetic biodiversity, where there is one type of ecosystem and one type of species, but their genetic constitution is different. What we really get out of this biodiversity? We get oxygen, food, clean water, pollination in plants, pest control, wastewater treatment, medicine and drugs, aesthetics and cultural benefits, bird watching, hiking, camping, fishing, ideas, recreational pursuits, habitat and breeding areas for wild species. And now the most important thing, that what threatens biodiversity, for which really we are worried for. Because if there is more and more threats for biodiversity, there is less possibility of sustainability of life really. Many human activities, here I have referred as many human activities, but I would like to say that probably all human activities have a negative effect on biodiversity. The destruction of nature, degradation of forests, and fragmentation of habitats always give a negative effect on biodiversity. Each time we change the natural environment, we change the environment where biodiversity really lives in. हम जहाँ environment change करते हैं, हम biodiversity जहाँ रह रही है उसको बदल दिया करते हैं. Climate change, global warming, and population growth are the major factors which change the biodiversity house. Major threats for the biodiversity are habitat loss and destruction. अगर किसी भी तरीके से habitat loss हो जाता है, तो natural सी बात है biodiversity अपने आप बहुत कम हो जाएगी. The very important thing is the urbanization nowadays, because man is very densely busy in making cities and only cities. They are making cemented houses and always cutting the forest and the cropland areas, deforestation and industrialization, heavy shrinkage in green areas, water ecosystem and loss of forest. Second important thing, that if we make any alteration in the ecosystem composition, there will be loss in biological diversity. And third important thing is the invasive alien species. अगर कहीं भी किसी जगह पे नेटिव स्पीशीज के कंपैरिजन में एलियन स्पीशीज वहां इंट्रोड्यूस हो जाएं, तो नेचुरल सी बात है जो नेटिव स्पीशीज होती है वो रिप्लेस कर दी जाती है. एक कहावत कही जाती है बात में इकोनॉमिक्स के अंदर, ब्लैक मनी हमेशा व्हाइट मनी को रिप्लेस कर दिया करता है. सिमिलरली जितनी एलियन स्पीशीज इंट्रोड्यूस होती हैं वो नेटिव स्पीशीज को वहां से रिप्लेस कर देती हैं. एंड the removal of native species is the biggest threat for biodiversity. And therefore, it is very important that anyhow we should maintain the native species in their original forms and try our best not to get eliminated the keynote species. Over-exploitation, over-hunting, overfishing, over-collecting of species can quickly lead to the decline. Changing consumption pattern of human is often used or cited as the key reason for their unstable or unsustainable exploitation of natural resource. Population growth is one of the major causes of exploitation. And above all, the pollution and contamination are the reason for the loss of biodiversity. And particularly pollution is a very important reason for loss of biodiversity. The global climate change. On one hand, man has done very good thing to study the biodiversity, but on the other hand, आदमी ने वो काम भी किए जो उसे नहीं करने चाहिए थे. We are making artificial islands nowadays, which have no use probably, and we are making when artificial islands. Naturally, there will be climate change, and there will be global climate change. When there is a global climate change, there is a loss of biodiversity. Second important thing, the interrelationship between different components of the biodiversity. Many plants really rely on animal species like insects, bats, and birds for pollination and seed dispersal. It is said somewhere that we need millions of biopollinators and we need trillions of soil organisms. And this relationship is very vital and important for the sustainability of the species. Biodiversity offers a wide range of resources according to need. And biodiversity plays a pivotal role in economic generating activities. This is another important thing in biodiversity, that India is one of the mega biodiversity centers in the world and has two of the world's 18 biodiversity hotspots in Western Ghats and the Eastern Himalayas, which was identified by Mayer in 1999, having dense and diverse forest covers with pristine beauty and incredible biodiversity. According to the report of Ministry of Environment and Forest, the country is estimated to have 49,219 plant species, that is about 12.5% of the world flora, and 81,251 animal species of the world flora, is 6.6%. The Thar Desert and the Himalaya are the two regions which are rich in biodiversity of India. Tilka Lake is also referred as biodiversity center. Biodiversity hotspots are recognized as those places which are reservoir of biodiversity but under threat by human activity. To qualify as a hotspot, a region must meet two strict criteria. It must contain at least 1,500 species of vascular plants as endemic, and it has lost at least 70% of its original habitat. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात है किसी हॉटस्पॉट के लिए कि केवल वो स्थान हॉटस्पॉट के रूप में माने जाते हैं जहां कम से कम 1500 स्पीशीज वेस्कुलर प्लांट्स के अवेलेबल हो एंडेमिक प्लांट के फॉर्म में, और उसमें से 70% स्पीशीज जो ओरिजिनल हैबिटाट की हैं वो या तो लॉस हो चुकी हो या अंडर थ्रेट हो. Mayors in 1988 identified 10 tropical forest hotspots, but later on it was added to 8 more hotspots. Now the things which is now essential for us, that how we have to conserve biodiversity. We can conserve biodiversity by using legislation, by making some laws like Environmental Protection Act, Fisheries Act, Forest Conservation Act, Wildlife Protection Act, or by in situ conservation, by developing national parks and sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, natural reserves, reserve and protected forests, preservation plots, and reserve forest. At the same time, it is also possible that we can conserve biodiversity by ex situ conservation, by developing botanical gardens, zoological parks, by forestry institutions, or by agriculture research centers. We can also conserve the biodiversity by recording the indigenous knowledge, because the indigenous knowledge is very much related with the native plants, and it is of very great importance to conserving biodiversity. Community participation in biodiversity conservation, international conservation strategies, conservation of wetlands, and conservation of medicinal plants, as was referred by Dr. Tiwari also. One thing very important while we were discussing the biodiversity, the resources are limited. अगर आपने कभी ध्यान दिया हो तो जितने इंडियन ऑयल के सेंटर्स होते हैं वहाँ लिखा होता है कि ऑयल समुचित मात्रा में उपलब्ध नहीं है या ऑयल सीमित मात्रा में उपलब्ध है. Similarly, the nature has not enormous resources. The resources are limited, so we have to use resources in a very regulated way. Slow down resource usage and control wastage. If we practice the control wastage, we can use our resources for a longer time. This will be the type of the world if there will be no biodiversity. Just look how rough it is. Having no plants, having no water, having no fauna, and having no flora here. This is the picture it depicts. And when biodiversity will not be here, the world will be very rude and very rough, and it is having no beauty. What we have to do now, we have to make commitment with the flora. We have to develop a passion for biodiversity. We have to respect our environment and nature also. Another time, what we can do to preserve biodiversity. These are the points which we can use every day in our practice. Do not waste paper. Use only as much as you require. Do not scribble it. Use recycled paper as far as possible. Try to use cloth towels, not recycled papers. We people are every day using recycled paper. But at the same time, we are not, we have to use recycled paper, not to use paper. And we have to try the cloth towels. Do not throw away the old cards. Reuse them anyhow. Try to use the envelope wherever possible. Do not keep birds as pet. It's a very important point is here that do not keep birds as a pet. Look after the pet in your house well. Feel closer to the birds and animals. Sit in the park and feel the squirrels and birds. Maintain a list of birds which visit you the park and the garden outside your house. Compare notes with your friends and see who can list more birds. When more birds will be there, biodiversity will no more be there. Put leaves as petals of different plants between the pages of your books. Once they are dry, you can use them, make cards, etc. And as ever said every time, that plant trees. But at the same time, when you are going to plant trees, make a specific one thing that use only native species that will attract local wildlife. It is suggested here that try to plant only those trees which are native or endemic. Grow local vegetables. Reduce our greed for products made out on the animal parts, be vegetarian. Avoid using chemical insecticides, pesticide, and inorganic fertilizers. Try to be organic. I know well that try to be organic, जब मैं बोलता हूँ, हम सब कहते हैं, that to be organic is a tough task, as referred by our last speaker, Goel Saab, that to be organic is not a simple job, it's a tough job, but try to be organic. Make a practice to use cloth bags and biodegradable bags. Make children aware of the surroundings and be eco-friendly. Make use of sustainable technologies like smokeless chulhas, groundwater recharge units, use of wind energy and use of solar power. ये जितनी बातें मैंने बताई हैं आपको, उन सारी बातों के लिए अगर कोई responsible है, तो we human beings are responsible for it, not any other thing. So I lastly like to say that हम सफर न किसी हम नटली से निकलेगा, हमारे पाँव का कांटा हम ही से निकलेगा. we have to do the efforts to conserve the biodiversity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful and informative talk.